Hi, I'm sure you've heard something about the recent lawsuits in the real estate industry and the more recent settlement reached by the National Association of Realtors. I can't get into all the details, but here are two things the settlement covers. One, NAR has agreed to impose a new rule prohibiting offers of broker compensation in the MLS. This means that offers of what the listing agent is paying the buyer can no longer be communicated in the MLS, but they can continue to be an option consumers pursue off MLS through negotiation and consultation with real estate professionals. So if a listing agent collects 6% from the seller and agrees to give half of that, or 3%, to the buyer's agent, that will no longer be communicated explicitly in the MLS. The agents will have to work together offline to communicate what, if any, compensation the listing side is offering. Two, NAR has also agreed to enact a new rule that would require MLS participants working with buyers to enter into written agreements with those buyers. We call these buyer brokerage agreements in Georgia, and they've been around for years, but they haven't ever been required. So this is probably why some buyers don't understand how the compensation works. The buyer brokerage agreement puts in writing how much commission the buyer agent charges the buyer and can require the buyer to pay any difference if that full amount is not paid to them by the listing agent. So if a buyer agent charges 3%, but the listing agent pays them only 2%, the buyer has to pay the missing 1%. The buyer can always ask the seller to help pay this difference, although in this competitive market, it's hard to imagine that strategy working since it makes your offer clearly less attractive. These changes will go into effect in mid-July 2024, pending approval by the courts. In the end, I think it means selling commissions will drop if the seller no longer wants to pay the commission on both sides. But it also means buyers will likely have to foot the bill for their agent's commission. No one is forcing buyers and sellers to do anything here, so any changes to how agents get paid will likely stem from both the implementation of these new rules as well as how buyers, sellers, and their agents figure out what seems to work the best for everybody. There's wide speculation that this will reduce the cost of selling your home, which is probably true. I mean, if you have to pay only 3% to sell your house versus 6%, that's a lot of money saved. But since the commission is baked into the price of the home, some experts believe this will also reduce the price of homes on the market, which is bad news for sellers. Currently, to cover the full commission, a $100,000 home would most likely be listed for $106,000, so the seller could net $100,000 after paying commission to their agent and their agent paying some of that to the buyer side. In the future, that house might list for only $103,000 because the seller commission has dropped. But on the flip side, since the buyer would have to pay for their agent, and that commission might be 3%, that buyer might be able to offer only $97,000 because they have only $100,000 to spend. In the end, there could be multiple competing factors that could negatively impact the price of homes sold. Furthermore, buyers may chafe at the thought of having to spend money on an agent, whom many mistakenly thought were free. We don't work for free. It just appeared that way because someone else was paying our commission. Only time will tell how this all pans out. In the meantime, the media will be flooded with various opinions, theories, and ideas of what's going on. If I were you, I'd resist listening to all the noise and let the market and the industry run its course. It will eventually land, and hopefully the final state will be a bit more equitable than what we have today. I understand where you're coming from. If I weren't a real estate agent, I wouldn't want to spend 6% to sell my house, and I certainly wouldn't want to give half of that to the other side. Let the buyer pay for their agent. But as a real estate agent, I also fully understand the value of the buyer's agent and why they're worth what they ask for. You try selling a house without an agent. It's the opposite of a for sale by owner, known as a FSBO, and is just as challenging. I call it a for purchase by buyer, or FPBB, pronounced FIPBB. Yes, it's all pretty complicated. I'm here to answer your questions, and thanks for watching.